friends, today we are going inside of the Ryman Auditorium, what was once the Grand Ole Opry. And how it came to be is kind of an interesting story. The basic story in a nutshell to the building is that there was a traveling preacher that was going around doing tent shows, and a local businessman named Mr. Ryman liked what he was doing, decided to fund basically a brick tabernacle for him that they could use. That's what happened. And then eventually it became the Grand Ole Opry and the birth of bluegrass. As this sign says right here, you'll see this great statue of Bill Monroe. And then you'll see that they have a commemorative plaque up here telling that in December of 1945, Grand Ole Opry star Bill Monroe and his mandolin brought to the Ryman Auditorium stage a band that created a new American musical form. With the banjo style of Earl Scruggs and the guitar of Lester Flatt, the new musical genre became known as bluegrass, augmented by the fiddle of Chubby Wise and the bass of Howard Watts, also known as Cedric Rainwater. This ensemble became known as the original bluegrass band, which became the prototype for groups that followed. So here you can see that old church look to it, that old tabernacle look. And if you don't know your country, the Grand Ole Opry was basically the pinnacle of everything. I mean, if you were trying to make it in the business, that was where you needed to play. And I don't even think there's an equivalent now that you can even say that they're, you know, maybe American Bandstand at one time, but now there's just nothing like it. It's kind of neat here on this light. You can see the old Union Tabernacle, or maybe you can. I can see it. Sun's not in our favor right now, but historically cool since 1892. And of course the Ryman years of the Opry are almost famous because these are the years that Hank Williams was performing here and also was fired here, which caused a lot of his grief afterward, a lot of his heavy drinking, and a lot of the reason that they fired him was because he was going out to Tootsie's getting drunk, and he was just becoming unreliable. They didn't know when he was going to show up or what state he would be in when he showed up, unfortunately. You can see across from us up there is Country Music Television offices, and there's the man who funded the Ryman. Thomas Green Ryman, a prominent riverboat captain and Nashville businessman. Ryman was known for his generous contributions of time and money to the construction of the Union Gospel Tabernacle. In 1904, the Tabernacle was renamed the Ryman Auditorium in his honor, which is where we are today. Now, I love the idea of the Grand Ole Opry, so I wanted to come here instead of the new Grand Ole Opry. Not one, but two plaques of historical significance. There's a statue of Roy Acuff and Minnie Pearl together. It's called Oh Roy. Well, there it is. Basically, a man named Sam Jones was the preacher who resided over this. And when Tom Ryman passed away, Sam Jones was the one that said he thought we should change the name to Ryman. And at that time, not only were they using it for church services, but they would have a woman named Lulu Neff who was booking like plays. They said Bela Lugosi performed here in Arsenic and Old Lace, and Katharine Hepburn, Philadelphia Experiment, various jazz musicians, people from pretty much all walks of life, and it was becoming really popular for its sound. And then the Grand Ole Opry moved in the mid-1940s. They said in 1973 they decided it was too dilapidated and it just wasn't worthy of being the Opry anymore, was kind of run down, so they closed the doors, moved to a new Opry, and this place basically fell into disrepair. There's the stage. Fell into disrepair until 1991 when Emmylou Harris decided to do a live show from here, record a live album, and reminded people how great it sounded, and all the country music stars that love this place funded it to get renovated, and now they have concerts here all the time. One of the other cool things that was filmed here was the Johnny Cash show, and one of the most famous performances of that was when The Who was here. Keith Moon put the fireworks in his drums and blew it up at the end and ruined Pete Townshend's hearing for the rest of his life in one ear. Apparently all of the episodes of the Johnny Cash Show were filmed here. And when the Opry moved out in 73 or 74-ish, the architects of the city said this place wasn't worth saving. Boy, were they wrong. But look how bad it had gotten at one point. There's Keb Mo, B.B. King.
Or Elsie, as she preferred to be known, was a widow.
Miss Roosevelt.
Roosevelt, a child. 20, when the new board of directors took over, they hired her.
They have a lot of memorabilia around here, but I really want to get down to that stage and stand on it. And that's Sam Jones, the preacher. Sarah Bernhardt. Even John Philip Sousa. There you can see Harry Houdini, W.C. Fields, Will Rogers, even Charlie Chaplin performed here. This is Carrie Underwood's dress that she wore on her 10th anniversary celebration of being a member of the Opry. That hung outside the Ryman for many years. Just by looking at this, Ethel Barrymore, Al Jolson, Ziegfeld Follies, Helen Hayes, Eleanor Roosevelt, they really owe Lula Neff a lot. She really is responsible for keeping this place alive.
In 1920, when the new board of directors included...
That's Lula. There's Bob Hope and Hank Williams, both here in 1949. And that's signed to Lula Neff on that stage in Mae West. And even Elvis. Alright, let's go downstairs. Oh, check this out. Here you can make a recording in the Ryman. It says that's one of Minnie Pearl's earliest known performance dresses. Wow. Looks like she's wearing it there. Well, that's the very first pedal steel built by Shot Jackson for Don Warden. Don played for Porter Wagner. There's an outfit worn by Patsy Cline. It says she wore it at the 1962 Country Music Festival Awards. And that's a nudie suit made by Nudie for Ray Price. Check this out. You got Tammy Wynette's dress and George Jones. That's really great. You can just see George Jones wearing that, grinning. Then those are Hank's handwritten lyrics for Your Cheatin' Heart. It says June 15th, 1952. And that's Marty Robbins' nudie suit. Pretty cool. And that's George Hayes' steamboat whistle from the Opry radio show. And that's Dolly Parton's outfit when she was touring with Kenny Rogers. That is Uncle Jimmy Thompson's fiddle for the WSM barn dances. There he is with it. And they have Spec Rhodes' costume here. That's like his trademark, wearing those. Roy Acuff Flower. Now let's walk down and see if we can't get our picture up there. They said you can't take your own camera up there on the steps facing outward. Really cool experience. You can even grab a guitar there and pose with it if you want. Right in that doorway they have a picture of Hank on stage. Pretty cool. There's one of Johnny Cash's outfits from the Johnny Cash Show.
Why not the Ryman? It had never occurred to me
How about
that I
that?
could play on this stage for so many of my heroes that performed.
Those belong to little Jimmy Dickens.
Here for 3 nights, 200 people a night.
And there he is. Of course, his wardrobe's made by Nudie.
The result was the Grammy Award-winning album.
And that hat with the music note was Patsy Cline's hat made by Nudie Cone. And that's a 50th anniversary hat worn by Bill Monroe. There you can see the Black Crows have performed here. And that's a Foo Fighters set list from when they performed here.
the Grammy Award-winning album and concert film.
2014. And this guitar was Joe Bonamassa's guitar that he played when he performed here. You can see it's definitely got a lot of wear on it. That's because it was originally Howard Reed from Gene Vincent's band's guitar. And you can see the HAR initial. That is the 1965 cast of the Grand Ole Opry. Look at that crew. Well, that was a fantastic tour of the Ryman, and here's a statue of little Jimmy Dickens out front. It says little Jimmy Dickens first debuted on the Ryman stage in 1948, went on to become one of the longest tenured and most beloved members of the Grand Ole Opry. Well, we're not done here yet because I wanted to throw a little something extra on this vlog. I want to go check in NUDIE'S Honky Tonk. Yep, if you know my channel, you know who Nudie Cohn was. They have quite a bit of his memorabilia in here and a whole honky tonk dedicated to Nudie. And right now a live band playing Waylon Jennings' Good Old Boy. Perfect. Let's go. That is Mickey Rooney's Nudie shirt. Unbelievable. Yep, that is Hank's shirt. Now if you notice on stage, there's a Buck Owens guitar over on the left side and Nudie right in the dead center. And there's Nudie's car hanging from the ceiling. The one he used to ride around North Hollywood. And this is Skull Shulman's Nudie suit. And there's one of the gold lame Nudie suits that he made for Elvis. All kinds of amazing old country posters. Gotta love it. And Nudie even made his own record. I bought his CD. It's pretty good. He plays mandolin. And it's cool, all of these records that are hanging here, they're all made out to Nudie's Honky Tonk from the artist, or presented from the label and probably request of the artist. Kind of nice. See Tammy Wynette's greatest hits, Chris Stapleton, Alan Jackson. They have an upstairs, but I don't know if it's open or not right now. There's Johnny Paycheck's Take This Job and Shove It, made out to Nudie's. Oh, that's great, those guitars. The one on the left is Joe Mathis, and the one on the right is Merle Travis. Merle Travis actually has his name on the neck. Hold on, we're going in. Look at the bar, silver dollar bar. Now check that out, how awesome is that? That is Graham Parsons. That's the black version of his white pill and amphetamine Nudie suit. Look at the sleeves. Pills and Quaaludes. And this one belonged to Merle Travis. Lynchburg Lemonade. And that's Nudie's own suit he made for himself. When the deal is done. Great song. With you, baby. To know your name. With you, baby. I don't even know your name. I'm wondering if that's common to just abandon a flying V case up by the side of the road. Huh. Well, if I had a flying V, that'd come in really handy. But I don't. I think you guys are going to enjoy what our last stop of the day is today. Now this house is what I wanted to show you. Now it's owned by a church that is right directly next door. But this was the last Nashville home of Hank Williams Sr. Now it does not look anything like what it did when he lived here. Apparently it was a much smaller house, and after his passing, his wife Audrey added quite a bit to it. Kept adding wings and various things to it, hoping, as some speculate, that she was hoping that it would become like a family home that Hank Jr. would want to move into. But it was eventually sold to Tammy Wynette, and Tammy Wynette made it even bigger as well, because Tammy Wynette, she'd always been interested in beauty and had a pretty massive beauty collection. And in fact, all the way up through the 90s, she had her cosmetology license active. So at one time they said that you could go in there if you were friends with Tammy, and she had basically like rooms that looked like it was right out of a movie or like out of a doll set. It was just like the most elaborate bathroom cosmetology setup you'd ever seen. And sadly, this is where she was found dead, on her sofa. They actually had the gates open, so I figured I'd just show it to you, and then we'll drive around this circle that's in front and get a little bit better view and call it a day. I just, you know, I'm such a Hank Williams fan, and even though, you know, this is you know, somewhere in there is the little acorn that grew this house. I think they said when Hank owned it, it was like 5 rooms, and now it's like 7 or 8, something like that. Much, much bigger. So let's go take a closer view through the car and we'll head out of here. What it said online they use it for is kind of like youth group meetings and things like that now. Looks like they have a basketball court in the back, and yeah, so. And when Tammy used to live here, there was a big gate in front of the property with a big TW on it. Right here. And that is it, my friends. That is it for today. I will see you all tomorrow. I hope you enjoyed today's vlog. Have a great night. We'll see you all then. Goodbye.